Oh, from Southern Ontario, Canada. Guy in the car with his phone. Haha, sorry, the comments. UBI, again, because it's the talk of the town, so to speak. I think it's going to be an election thing, with the Liberals pushing it. They'll be watching the polls and they'll be watching, well, their influencers are pushing UBI. Cost. Somebody said they didn't like my math, $750 billion. That's based on $2,000 a month. What if it's $2,500 a month? Then it would be a full trillion, not just $750 billion. You don't like my math? Go to Stats Canada. Start how many people are eligible under the framework that seems to be laid out at the moment. Nothing's written in stone yet. And do your own ought times ought equals ought. You'll see that there's not much wrong with my math on that one. But anyways, aside from how in the devil would we ever pay for it, now we come to the argument that the influencers are putting through, well, it would just be one check issued to everybody, so we wouldn't have, CPP, OAS, GIS, what we call welfare, disability, the list goes on and on. Well, that sounds good on paper. But what about those millions of people employed in all of those outfits, I'll say? Are we just going to send them to a homeless camp via the unemployment office? Well, employment insurance, it's called in Canada. But you know what I mean. No, we'd have to give them massive buyout settlements. Whoa, what would that add up to? And most of those outfits, I'll just refer to them as, would still have to exist in some way, shape, or form. I mean, we might be able to pare them down considerably in numbers of employees and costs, but we wouldn't eliminate them totally. So, if it could be made to save any money, it certainly wouldn't in the first year or two. Not even close. The costs would be huge. And then I see in some of the comments on some of the other people's posts, videos on this subject matter, UBI. Well, it works great in Finland. Well, if it still is with their mass migration problems, their whole society, their government, their economy is built from the ground up on, I'll call it a socialist platform. We're going to try and dump a little part of that into our system, which is nothing like that. And I don't know. With usual governmental and bureaucratic inefficiencies, it'd be pretty hard pressed to make this work smoothly at all. I'm not the only one who thinks it's going to come. It will be digital, not electronic. It will be digital. And that's going to end up with a social credit score system. You can bet it will. Not the first day, maybe not even the first year, but yeah, that control will creep in. I don't see how anybody can think anything different. The devils and Davos aren't changing their agenda. And then the money, $2,000 a month. Well, if we discount, and we can't, but if we discount what it's going to do to inflation, $2,000 a month, well, the city I live in here is one of the cheaper cities. The subsistence cost of living is a little over $3,000 a month. So the supporters are going to go, well, that's great because you're still going to have to work then because you can't get by on $2,000 a month. Well, that part of the argument is valid. I'm not going to get into the fact the seniors don't make $3,000 or more a month on their pensions, even with the increases coming in. Different subject. Just thought I'd point that out. Now, here in this city, the homeless get, I think it's $343 a month. So $2,000, would sure do them a lot of good, and boy, they need it. Problem is, still doesn't put a roof over their head because A, it's not enough money. B, there are no roofs. because we're still bringing in 1 million plus migrants a year. That hasn't and isn't going to change. I don't see it working. I just don't. And ultimately, again, where does the money come from? Because we're not going to shave it off the top by displacing a bunch of hogs from their troughs. That's not going to happen. And, well, they want more control. What a better way to control us than we become utterly dependent upon their UBI. But people just look at the face value of things. I could use $2,000 a month. I certainly could, sure. But I'm going to pay for it in the end, big time. See through it, people, please.